Morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to Karma Broadcast on the sofa with Esther. Well, on the sofa with Esther in sunny Barbados, I have Kenneth Ramsey. And how do I coin him? I would just say he's a man with a huge vision, a huge heart, and a lot of laughter. And within that, I'm just going to ask him, first of all, Kenneth, who are you in a nutshell? A coconut shell or a nutmeg shell?
Which of the three shells I'm in?
That's right.
Well, I guess I would start off by saying I was born in a little place called Artemis, Kentucky, down in the southeastern part of the state, population 500. So I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. My mother and father were, in Artemis, nobody was poor. It was all about the same. So we didn't feel like anybody was better than anybody else. But neither one of them graduated from high school, but they was a big believer in education, so they insisted that I go on and get the best I could get. So that's where I started out from, a little place in Artemis, Kentucky.
Okay, so you started out as a nutshell, but now you've grown into something extremely huge, so we're going to go into that. So your journey, just tell us a little bit about your journey, because you are a horse owner and breeder. So can you tell us how you initially got involved with horses? Because I noticed when I was doing my briefing around you, you talked about your dream as a child of getting a horse, and you had that horse. So how did that change your life? What did that do for you as a child, having your own horse?
Well, it started out, my aunt took me to Louisville, Kentucky on a Christmas shopping trip. And I'm 5 years old. For some reason or other, I had, had an interest in the horses. So I wanted to go to Churchill Downs where they have the Kentucky Derby. So she said, no, we can't go over there. And I started crying. So anyway, yeah. So she said, well, you hush crying, we'll take you over. I'll have a taxi driver take you over. So after the shopping trip was over with, I went over to Churchill Downs and saw what they call the Twin Spires. And that was kind of inspirational to me. I always, thought, well, boy, I'd like to have a horse and come back here someday myself. So I got in the real estate business and made a few dollars, and claimed a real cheap horse for $1,500. And ran it one time, and it ran no good. So anyway, that's a very inauspicious beginning, but it sort of evolved from that. So as I said, I'm ambitious, so I didn't give up. I never quit on anything I start. So it's evolved into sort of a worldwide operation now. I've won the Dubai World Cup, and I've won the Barbados Gold Cup 2 times. Unfortunately, I just got through running second. That's what we call the first loser this past Saturday, but we shall return, as General Douglas MacArthur said. Next year we'll bring a better horse and hopefully get a better result.
And you talk so much about, for me, I'm hearing entrepreneurship, I'm hearing success. What is it that drives you, Kenneth? What is it that inspires you to do what you do? Because you've got this energy of, if I want something, I am going to go for it regardless.
Well, I'm very competitive. I've always been very competitive. In the horse business, for example, the winner gets all the glory and most of the gold. So you have to figure out how you can be number one. But one of the secrets I've learned in life, unlike the horse business, in the horse business, you try to put your horse in the worst company you can so you can beat them. In real life, as a human being, you try to associate with the best people you can find. In other words, I don't like to associate with negative people. They drain the energy right out of me. So I try to stay positive. I've got a outgoing personality, and I don't pick and choose who I talk to. I'll speak to anybody and everybody. The janitor or the secretary, a lot of times, if they like you, they'll get you in to see the big boss, which may mean you get an appointment and get a contract or a sale or something. So I learned that early on. Be nice to everybody. So that's one of the things that I follow through on. I've tried to teach that to my children and grandchildren. Treat everybody like you be treated yourself. They call it the golden rule. It's in the Bible. It's worked for over 2,000 years. It still works.
And what's really interesting about that, when I was watching your clips on YouTube, your horse is a special horse. There's a very special horse that's really close to your heart. I'm going to ask you to share that in a moment. But you talk about how you treat people, but you do the same thing with your horses as well. You have the same concept of treating your animals right. Because I've done a lot of work with animals, and there's this notion that animals do not have any emotions or feelings, and it's about breaking them but you work from a slightly different concept. So can you share firstly about your favorite horse and then your concept of working with your horses? They have spa days. His horses have spa days. Really, they do.
Yes. My favorite horse has got to be one called Kenneths Joy, because it belonged to my wife. She named it. Her name is Sarah Catherine. The family all calls her Catherine. In the racing industry, we call her Sarah, but we call her Catherine. And when we was dating many years ago, my pet name for her was Kitten.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, she wanted to name this horse Kenneths Joy. And I was opposed to it. I said, it's a male. It sounds kind of feminine. She said, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this horse. I want to name it Kenneths Joy. She had the last word, and that's what its name is. So he turned out to be the champion. Got the Eclipse Award, made over $2 million, and he's turned out to be a wonderful stallion. He has been the leading stallion in North America on the turf for 3 consecutive years. That's a first. He stands for $100,000, and he has a lot of mares to breed. So he's turned out to be a money maker. He's put me where I'm at now over the world, and his offspring are very much in demand. So we kind of sort of trademarked him because most of the ones I've got are named a kitten out of Kenneths Joy, have the name Kitten in their name.
Yes,
like Sunny Kitten, Barbados Kitten. I named one Barbados Kitten, except he didn't turn out too well.
Okay.
But that's a franchise on the farm, so that keeps everything going. That's a very good horse.
But then you also, you look after him in terms of, like I said, he has spa days, and there's that. For me, that really shows that you don't just see him as a money spinner for you, but you actually see the horse as a human being, so to speak, or something with a soul and or a heart.
Well, I'm an animal lover. Whether it be a cat, a dog, I wouldn't even want to torture a snake. If there's a rattlesnake or something, just cut its head off and execute it completely, but don't torture it or anything.
Yeah.
So my horses, we give them the very best of treatment we possibly can. We take care of them and they take care of us. But for example, Kenneths Joy, we have 2 paddocks for him. We have one irrigated in the summertime when it's hot to make sure it's green grass. We put him over there for a couple of weeks, over here for a couple of weeks, buy the best hay that money can buy. We have his own exercise machine, what we call the spa, to keep him healthy. And he lives a life of Riley, yes. In other words, couldn't be treated any better. But by the same token, we do all of our horses that way. All of them don't get as much individual attention, but we have a veterinarian there on the farm that comes and takes care of all the mares, and we have different feeding programs for the yearlings and for the 2-year-olds and the stallion, and the mares going through the reproductive and all that. So a special feed for the foals and all that. So we take good care of them, because if you're going to compete, you have to have the best. If you're going to be the best, you have to beat the best. So we try to, be the best.
Fantastic. And, this whole thing of nurturing and looking after and being the best and aiming and aspiring for, world domination, if you want to put it that way, because I also feel it from you. Give this guy any sort of goal, and I feel he's just going to go, vroom, vroom, vroom. How can we do it? So coming from a poor background, so to speak, to where you are now, what have been some of the pivotal learning curves as you've transitioned?
Well, I started out, didn't realize at the time, but I was valedictorian in my high school graduating class, and that enabled me to get a scholarship to go free 1 year to Union College in Barbados, Kentucky. So instead of going out to get a job, I got put on the educational track. Then I ended up going to Eastern State University, Eastern State Teachers College of Richmond, Kentucky for another year. Then I went in the Navy, and in the Navy I ended up getting selected to go to Officer Candidate School.
Okay.
And that was a changing point in my life, because I took the test and I went through all the board examinations, and I got to go to Officer Candidate School in the Navy at Newport, Rhode Island. And there was admiral sons in there, and a lot of them been appointed by politicians. A congressman gets to appoint a couple people to all the different Annapolis and everything. So the Officer Candidate School made me develop confidence in myself.
Okay.
There was 423 of us started the class, and 206 of us graduated. So when I came out there with a gold bar on my shoulder, I felt like, hey, I don't have to stay on the porch. I can get out there and run with the big dogs.
Fantastic.
Because so I believe in myself. In other words, I'm not, crazy. Like I know I can't fly, for example, but I mean, anything reasonable I think I can accomplish. And I try to accomplish things that other people may haven't. I enjoy adding value to something, like taking a vacant lot in real estate. That's what I made my money in to start with, real estate, and developing it. In other words, putting an apartment building on it or something so it generates revenue.
Yes. Yeah. And you said a key thing there about creating value, because I've got a friend of mine that keeps saying, whatever you do, create value, and then everything else will come around that. And just listening to you talk about your success, just listening to you talk about life in general, how do you sustain yourself with this great achievement that you've made? And I guess it can be quite challenging at the best of times. How does Kenneth Ramsey sustain himself? What is it that keeps you going, other than your wife? And we're going to come to your wife in a moment.
Well, it doesn't bother me to fail. A failure to me is just a learning experience, another step, so the next time you come down, like we ran second over here, I'll bring a better horse next year. I failed. That was a learning experience. I underestimated my opposition. I really thought we'd win the race. But, sometimes the fickle fingers of fate dictate otherwise. But I try to assemble a really good team, and I use the same business model in whatever I'm doing. Like, for example, I've been very fortunate. I've made over $1 million in 5 different industries. I've made over $1 million in the stock market, the radio business, the cellular telephone business, the horse business. So anyway, whatever you do, you just get the best team you can get. And I don't try to micromanage them. We set a goal. People know what the goal is, and I get back and I try to get qualified people that knows what they're doing, and let them do it. In other words, let them do their thing. Don't be looking over their shoulder. Kindly give them a goal and hope they pan out. And if they don't, then we have a little exit interview, and we very kindly ask them, to go find their happiness someplace else. Just didn't work out. You can't win them all. But we don't believe in a status quo. There's always some way you can make an improvement on what you're doing. You don't have to invent the wheel, but you can build on somebody else's success and take a page out of their book and improve upon it. So that's what we try to do, whether it's horse racing, cellular telephone business, radio station, the stock market, horses, whatever.
Fantastic. And for you, how do you, what I found really valuable and inspirational for me was how you spoke about your wife. Your wife she's been more than a wife. She's a partner, she's a lover, you're confident. Tell us a little bit about Sarah. And
she's my best friend.
She's your best
Unfortunately,
friend.
She had a stroke a little over 8 years ago, this past February, and it was a devastating stroke. No warning, just suddenly happened like that. Ended up paralyzed. She was in a coma for several weeks. Ended up paralyzing her completely on her right side, but more so than being paralyzed on her right side and her right arm totally useless and in a wheelchair, she can't communicate because it affected her voice.
Okay.
So that makes it even worse. But I love her dearly. We try to, appreciate what we still have rather than what we lost. We try to engage her, and like she came to Barbados last year. And a couple of weeks ago, all of us went up, the family up to Disney World. My oldest son came in with the great-granddaughter and one of my granddaughters, and she enjoyed that. Kind of a little bit exhausting. That's a very working vacation if you go to Disney World to keep up with all the rides and all the attractions and everything. So, but I expect to have her down here next year. She's been to Royal Ascot with me since she had the stroke. So we try to engage her to keep her active as much. And she's cheerful. She had the same kind of disposition I've got. So we both enjoy the better things in life, and we don't mind working and sacrificing to get them. As I say, we started out with no money, but there's only about 5 or 6 ways to get rich if somebody's interested in getting, wealthy. And I don't gauge success by the amount of money you got.
Yes.
Like, for example, didn't come to Barbados win those gold cups for the money. In other words, there's bigger, better races, with more money and all that, more prestige. But it came down here and the people were so friendly and welcoming. I couldn't believe, how I was treated. For example, Sir David Seal, each year, after the Barbados Gold Cup, he's invited me and my family out to his home to have Sunday lunch. That's great. I beat him on Saturday and he feeds me on Sunday. You can't beat that. And I ran into Sir Charles over at the polo match over there yesterday and talked to him. He just he couldn't be treated any nicer. So
This guy's so funny. Oh, bless. Oh, it's been really amazing talking to you because like I said, I love your energy, I love your honesty, I love your drive, I love your passion. And sort of in winding down now, where to next for you? Where to next? Because I know that you're not going to start winding things down for a long time, because I can see that in your eyes.
There's a lot of challenges out there. For example, I have never won a race at Royal Ascot.
Okay.
I came in second twice, only got beat ahead with Frankie Dettori riding, and Her Majesty the Queen has been super nice to invite us over to the races and all that. So I've already sent one over to Dermot Weld, who's a big trainer in Ireland, a legend in his own time, one called Bobby's Kitten, who's by Kitten's Joy, and who I'm going to make a stallion out of to succeed the old man, hopefully, next year. He's already over there training to try to win me a race at Royal Ascot. I have another one called Charming Kitten, who's in quarantine now to go over, and he'll have a race at Royal Ascot. Then he's going on down to try to win the Melbourne Cup for me in Australia. So, and I've got a horse. I got a horse called this morning called Normandy Kitten that won a race in France. And I've got another trainer over in England that's got 5 Kenneths Joys, and maybe one of them will be good enough to win at Royal Ascot. So I enjoy playing the game on an international stage because the horse racing kind of levels the playing field out. I mean, I've met, people that in all walks of life that I would have never met before, except through the horse racing business. And on the racetrack, they're all equal. In other words, if I got a better horse than Sheikh Mohammed, I'm liable to beat him.
Yes.
And I did beat him over because I won the Dubai World Cup one time.
Fantastic.
But I mean, the sportsman that he is, in other words, he actually, I wouldn't say he enjoyed losing to me, but he's a sportsman and he admired the fact that we brought a horse over good enough to win the biggest race in the world, which right now is a $10 million race. When I won it, it was only a lousy $6 million, but that was the biggest race I've ever won so far. So the challenge is out there.
Yes.
Like you say, the world is your oyster. So, if you up to it and game, and a young fella like me, it's got all the stuff in front of him, I'm looking forward to going to Royal Ascot and hopefully showing up, winning one in front of Her Majesty the Queen. That would be quite an honor.
Well, hopefully I'll be there to conduct an interview with you when you win that race.
You've got it. And I always say, a promise made is a debt unpaid. So I promise you, I'll give an interview for you if I win over at Royal Ascot.
Fantastic, and it's been caught on candy camera. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kenneth Ramsey from Kentucky, the USA. Thank you very much for your time. This is Esther for On the Sofa with Esther. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you.
She's a character herself too. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.